Hello, welcome back to Pipe Bending College. Today I'm going to teach you how to pipe bend using Monument Masters. So with the Monument Masters, if you want to bend 15mm pipe, you have to get the 15mm version. And if you want to bend 22mm pipe, you have to get the 22mm. So the gist of how these pipe benders work is we're going to be focusing on the 15mm version, but the 22mm version will be the same. So what you would do is put your pipe like that and then bend it. That's the gist of it. We'll explain in more detail how it all works. Right, so let's have a quick comparison. So these are the Monument Masters and this is the traditional scissor pipe bender. So with the traditional one, it's got the 15 and 22mm built into one. With the Monument Masters, you need to have two separate benders, one for 15 and one for 22mm. And the other difference is the guide on the traditional ones is separate. So on the Monument Masters, it's built into the pipe bender. So just another observation, the traditional pipe benders have a point which allows you to put your pipe benders onto a vise, which makes it easier for precision pipe bending. Right, so what I've done, I've put it on the vise like this. It's not ideal, but it just makes it easier for me to show you some techniques. Right, so on these pipe benders, they've got some marks. So this is a 30-degree mark, 45-degree mark, 60-degree mark, and 90-degree mark. And also another interesting mark is here. That is where the start of the bending process is, so just there. That's the deepest part of the former. So that edge there, that's where the start of the bending actually happens. So we're gonna put the handle on. Right. So we're going to bend it. So if you want to bend the pipe 30 degrees, bend it till you can see the second line, and you then release the pressure. And then if you want to do a 45, you continue till you see the second line and you release the pressure. But remember folks, release the pressure. Remember, if you're in a college or being assessed or you want 100% precision, always check your angle with a folding ruler. In this case, it's spot on. So never assume these marks are 100% accurate. Right, we then continue. So if you wanted a 60-degree bend, just to the end of that section there. And then take the pressure off. And then finally, 90 degrees, which is there. And take the pressure off. Okay, especially with 90, that's the most not accurate because it springs out a little bit. So always check that one with a folding ruler as well. That's when you've achieved your desired angle. So when it comes to pipe bending using the Monument Masters, the concepts are actually the same as when using the traditional scissor benders. So let me show you a few examples. So let's have a look at an example. So we need to bend 45-degree copper with the centre of the bend being 120mm in this way and the centre of the bends being 130mm this way. So we have got a piece of pipe 250mm long We then mark 120 mil. Which is there. Okay, so that is where we want the centre of the bend to be. Right. For example, it's the same process as on the traditional pipe benders. So if you wanted to find the centre of a 45-degree bend, you can mark out your pipe benders like this, 45 degrees, and then make sure that it's touching the former in 2 spots, 1, 2. Make sure and also make sure it's in line with the pipe. So it's touching the former in 2 spots, 1, 2, and it's in line with the pipe, which is there. Then where the 2 rulers intersect, that will be the centre of a 45-degree bend. So let me just do it incorrectly. So the 2 rulers are touching, but it's not in line with the pipe. So we then line that up there, like that. And we then proceed to bend the pipe. And because it's an assessment, we're always going to check with our folding ruler. Okay, so take the pressure off. And we have a look, and it is there. That correlates. And we then, so that's the 120 mark. As you can see, that correlates there. That's correlating. There you have it. Right, let's have a look at the 90-degree one this time. So what we want is 150 mil. So it's from the bottom to the middle of this pipe, 150 mil. And then from here to the middle of this pipe, 200 mil. Right, so to do this, we have got 150 plus 200 equals 350 millimetres of copper. We then measure 150 mil. Which is there. 150 mil. Right, so the fixed side we want touching the stop. So we don't want the 150 mil side to move. Right, so we're pushing this down here, and that's the 150 line there. So when we put this square on, that is how the pipe's going to look when it's 90 degrees, because 90 degrees that way. So if that's 90, that's going to be 90. And we want this line to be in the middle of this pipe. So we're going to wiggle it along to the middle. And I would say there. That's the middle of the pipe there, and that's the line there. And we then proceed to bend the pipe 90 degrees. And again, folks, as I keep saying, never trust your pipe benders when you're doing assessments. Take the pressure off and check it. I'd say there. Take it out. Let's have a look. The jig. Put that on there, put that on there. And it's got to measure 200 mil from the middle to the end. So we measure 200 mil. Do a line there. And cut the pipe. Like that. Cut the pipe. Like that. So on another note, if you're a fan of the McKeown measure back technique, it also works with these pipe benders. So let me show you. So we measure 150 mil. Which is there, so 150. Okay, so measure 150 mil. Remember the McKeown's measure back technique chart. We then measure back 70 mil. Which is there. Give it some ticks because that's the mark we want, like that. So we've measured back, so that's where we want, so that's the mark there. We've measured back 70 mil from that mark to there. Right, so where that mark goes, okay, so that's your 150 mark. And you measured back 70 mil, and that 70 mil mark just touches the, see like the stop, it just touches the stop there, like that. And we then bend it 90 degrees. And put your pipe into the jig again, and then just cut off the 200. Cut off the excess. So the McKeown measure back technique also works. Okay, then let's have a look at doing an offset now. So middle to middle is 50 mil. So for 50 mil offset, a good bend to use is 30 degrees. So what we do, put the pipe in the bender. Bend it 30 degrees, which is there. Using measure, we're going to measure it on the benders, that technique. So what we're going to do is we've turned our pipe round. It's roughly right level, hard to see in the camera. So the ruler's touching the former, and it's also parallel with the pipe. So for example, so it's going to be like this. It's touching the former. We then take a measurement. If you can see that, that's reading about 40 mil. That's reading 40 mil. Right, so what we then do, wiggle it a bit more. You can do other techniques covered in other videos, but I just want to show you this technique. So ruler's touching the former, it's parallel, ruler's touching the former, it's parallel. And I would say 50 mil there. And I would say 50 mil there, 50 mil, 50 mil. So 50 mil. To make sure everything's nice and straight. I'm just sort of looking down the gap there, if you can sort of see it. I'm just eyeing it all up down the gap. And we then bend it back round 30 degrees. like that. Folks, on another note, the actual radiuses on the traditional and the monument ones are actually the same. So when you compare this bend and this bend, they're identical. Actually identical. So don't be fooled by the smaller. So what pipe benders do you prefer? The traditional ones or the Monument Masters? Leave your comments in the box below. Now you know how to use Monument Masters, it's your turn to have a go. Do this trick covered. I fucking hate these benders, they're shit. Right, I've had enough.